Morning everyone, welcome to Needles, Thread and Little Betty. My name's Mandy. Little Betty is, I think she's asleep. Little Betty! Little Betty! No movement. She's starting to spend a lot of the time asleep like the other dog, Hilda. But anyway, she might come and say hello in a bit. So today's project is something different to if you've watched any of the other videos on the channel. Today's project is something completely different, and it's needle felting. So I wouldn't call myself a needle felter. I've dabbled. I first learned how to do this. I used to go to a craft group once a week a few years ago, and there was a lady there that did a lot of needle felting. Very, very, very good. Made all sorts of sculptures and things like that. And she did us a tutorial one time, and I made this little sheet. Today's project is nothing as intricate as this sheep. It's a very easy, beginner-friendly project, and with Easter just around the corner, I think it's probably 2, maybe 3 weeks away, we're going to make these little Easter decorations. Little egg-shaped hanging decorations. Okay, so nice and easy. If you've not done needle felting before, it's very simple and it won't take long at all. So what you need is some needle felting wool. So I've got this, it's kind of like a base thing that I'm using. And I've got all sorts of pretty colours here for decorating our eggs. I've also got a piece of foam, and you need the foam because there's going to be a lot of stabbing involved. If you've not done needle felting at all, I just explain as we go along. If you've done needle felting, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So you need a nice big thick piece of foam. You need a needle. I don't know if you can actually see that. So these are needle felting needles. They're very, very sharp. So I wouldn't recommend this project for children, maybe older children under supervision, but they are very, very sharp, and they do really hurt if you stab yourself. Believe me, I know. So these needles, they're kind of barbed at the end. So what the principles are, which you'll see in a minute, is you stab the wool to create shapes and textures and all of that. And I'll talk about that as we go along. But because it's barbed at the end, it kind of helps it to mat up. Okay. Now these needles come in all different sizes. Like I say, I'm not a needle felter, so I couldn't comment on all the sizes. I imagine that the finer the needle are for the more intricate type of designs. But also what I'm also using for this is this gadget. So this, I don't know if you can see in again, but there's several needles in that. So basically when you're stabbing, instead of stabbing with one needle, which is a bit more time consuming, this does several at a time. So what happens, it's got this kind of like little plastic guard, and as you hit the target, this plastic thing pushes up, revealing the needle. So it's a bit of a safety catch, I guess, as well. You can still stab yourself with that if you're not careful. Okay. And you can get these finger guards to help. I've got quite a few of these, and I do use these sometimes. Sometimes I don't, because I'm kind of well, apart from silly, because you can stab yourself with it. I just find it more difficult to put these things on my fingers and then do what I need to do. It's the same with if I'm sewing using a thimble. If I put a thimble on my finger when I'm sewing, I just move that round and don't use that finger at all and use one of the others, which is, it's just, I naturally do that, and I can't seem to stop doing that. But anyway, that's enough about that. So what I've got is, I've got this, I'm using this, it's actually a cookie cutter, but because I'm making egg shapes, I'm using this egg shaped cookie cutter, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. Okay, so I'm going to move the camera down to where I'm working so you can see, and we'll start. Okay, I'll pop the glasses on, that always helps. Okay, so I'm just placing the cutter on top of my big piece of foam. Make sure that the foam, I mean, you can buy these ready if you want to start needle felting, but it has to have a certain thickness, because you don't, obviously you're going to have something underneath. The needles can be quite long, so you don't sort of want it going all the way through. Okay, so what I'm going to do with these, because the other wool, I mean, if you've got big pieces of coloured wool and that's the colour, say you want to do pink, for instance, and you've got massive amounts of pink, you can just use that straight away. But I've got these little sample kits, and so what I'm going to do is a base layer first. So with this, which I've got quite a lot of this, I'm just going to tear some of this off, and what I'm going to do is just pop it inside the cookie cutter like that. Just give it a bit of a push down. With my needle, I'm just going to start stabbing, and that's all you do. Now for this bit, I'm holding on to the cookie cutter. Try saying that fast. And that is kind of protecting my fingers a little bit. If I didn't have this template, this cutter, then think about wearing finger guards, or you've just got to make sure your fingers are out of the way, basically. So what you're doing, you're just stabbing, and this is kind of straight down, not at an angle at all, just straight down. And you just keep stabbing and stabbing, and it will start to mat together. Okay, so if you're using this gadget, which I will be for, because I want to make a flat surface, you basically just keep pressing over and over, and because you've got more than one needle, it just makes it that little bit quicker. Okay. Now, after a while, when that all starts to bed down, what I do, I don't know if this is the thing to do, because like I say, I'm not a needle felter, but what I do is I just give that a bit of a pull, because as you're pushing your needle down into it, it pushes it slightly into the foam. And I'm just turning that round and putting it back in the shape. And I'm just doing the other side a bit. And that just helps with the matting it together. Okay. Like I say, you can use either if you haven't got one of those gadgets. If you're just sort of getting yourself a starter kit, If you're an accomplished needle felter, you'll just see what I'm doing and just do it your own way, because you've probably got a lot more experience than what I have. Okay, and just pushing it all down. Now, once you start pushing it down, what you need to do is just build it up in layers to the thickness that you want. I'm not making these actually as a 3D egg shape. They're just decorations, really, nice and simple. I just wanted to do a nice simple project that anyone can do. So these are kind of, they're oval shape, but they're more 2D. So we just build the layers up like that, just to get a certain thickness. And on these, if you can see, this one, ignore the purple for a moment, I'll come to that in a bit. This one, I've just used this wool, what I'm using as a base, that's just made from that, and that's kind of the thickness that it's probably what, half, 3/4 of a centimetre. This one I have done the base and I've added the yellow on the top, so it's entirely up to you. There's no sort of strict thing you need to do. Obviously the thinner it is, the more flimsy it's going to be, but the lightweight, they just hang there, it doesn't really matter. So again, I'm just stabbing. And again, I'm just going to lift that up off the foam, pop it back in, and do round the other side. And for this, I'm just keep swapping these round. And one of the reasons is when I'm doing this is making, because I've got the template there, this is helping to map together the center part of the template, but the edges kind of still need doing, so it's useful for just going around the edges and keeping that shape. And I'm going to add another little bit more now. And because I'm putting on a top layer in a different colour, this will probably be the last part I do of this. But you can see how quickly it kind of mats down and mats together. Obviously, if you're doing something else, something 3D or something like that, then you build up and the density of the project is a lot more. So they're going to, obviously, depending what you're making, they're going to have a lot of work put into them. But that's fine if you enjoy doing it. Very good if you're frustrated about anything, just stabbing away with your needle into your foam. A bit of that one. Just go around the edges again. The more you stab, the more you shape something. For instance, with this, if you can see where the face, there's kind of a shape to the face, and that's the shapes created by the stabbing. You start off with, I'll just give you a quick example. You can roll this up into a ball and kind of like put that down there and use it that way if you were to do something like that. But yeah, so to get sort of like folds or angles and things like that to shape something, the needles do that because they'll they're guiding where you want the wool to go. Okay, I'll just do a bit more with this one. And you can spend as long as you like on it. I mean, for demonstration purposes, I'm just kind of, I could probably stab it a lot more than that. Just lift that up again. There's the dogs, not fully asleep. I think somebody's just walked by the house. There you go. So I've just turned it over again, and I'm just, because we want a nice flat oval kind of disc. And so then the next thing is to look at what colour you want to put on, if you're doing it this way, if you're not using just one colour. So for instance, let's pick, what else have I got? Can we do a purple one? I mean, Easter, if you're doing the Easter theme, they're often kind of used, when you see Easter decorations around, they use a lot of pastel colours, don't they? But that doesn't mean you've got to have pastel colours, you just have whatever you want. So I've just pulled a bit of that purple off, and I've just pulled it apart a little bit. So we want to distribute it as even as possible. And the same thing, and you just go over the top. You just go over and over. And what you'll find is that the colour that you're putting on the top, because you're stabbing it into the base colour, it'll just stick in there. The good thing with this is, if you did this and then you thought, oh, actually, I don't really like that purple, I want something else, you can just pull it off again. If you've not done it in too much, you can just pull it off again and put another colour down. Okay, and again, what you do is you just build it up and build it up until you've got the piece as a kind of like a solid background for this project. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, this is one I made earlier. I'll move that out of the way, I'll finish that off later. And if you can see, I'll just bring you up again a minute. So I've got my oval base, my egg shape. Yeah. So what we need to do now is we're going to decorate. So we've got the base layer, and because that's as smooth as I want it to be, what I do, and again, as I said, I'm not a needle felter, so this is just me kind of just doing what I think I need to do. Because you've got some wispy hairs, just trim them off a bit. I mean, you can do all this as well at the end, but because I'm going to do a pattern on here and use smaller pieces, and they'll be a little bit more intricate. Using that word a lot today. I'm just snipping off any kind of wispy bits. Okay, so that's that. So I'm going to pop that back in my egg shape. I'll bring you back down. Put that back in my egg shape. And then you've got to sort of decide what design you want to do. So if you want to, for instance, I don't know, you could draw a picture first or whatever. But I mean, I did sort of just little flowers. I mean, Easter's springtime, just spring type of designs. If you're more artistic, you could put a little yellow chick on there, or whatever you want to do. So I'm going to kind of, I think I'm going to possibly just cover this one in dots. Okay, keep it nice and simple. And I'm going to use purple. So I've got the purple out. And it kind of goes with this. It's like a salmon pink. So to do that, I take off some strands of what I want and just sort of pull it apart a little bit. And then I'm going to kind of roll it up. Now, I don't know if you're supposed to wet this. I know there's a wet felting technique you can do with some things like pictures and things like that. So I don't know. But I have been just giving it a bit of a wet just to help it kind of, to give it a bit of structure, I guess, for what I need to do. And I've got my needle ready. So what I do then is I just take a little bit off. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just cut that into, let's get that bit off. Just going to cut that into even bits. And put that to one side. And then each one I'm just going to roll into a ball with my fingers and just pop it on wherever I want to. I've got my needle, so just be very careful with your fingers and just gently just poking that into the wall, into the background. And we can go over this a bit more in a little while. Get the next one. I just roll it up into a ball and again, if you've done this, if you're making something and actually, oh, that's a bit too big, that's a bit too small, or I'm putting it in the wrong place, just pull it off and put it where you want it. I've got fairly long nails, so I'm kind of using them as a bit of a shield. So again, just pop it in. You might have some wispy bits come away if you're rolling it into ball, but that's fine because you can use the end of your needle as a guide. We'll do another one. Rolling it into a ball. This will be a good time to just dampen it down, actually holding it all in place. And again, once you've put a couple of stabs in there, it kind of holds it where you want it. Got another couple off. If you keep them fairly the same sort of size, you're going to get the same amount to roll into a ball. And put that on there. And the wispy bits, you can kind of curl them round. Excuse me. Curl them round to get them in the position that you want them in. A few little stabs. Another one. And although this is, this is not a detailed design by any means, it's plain and simple, but that's fine. They're colourful, they're fun. It's just a little bit of extra decoration around Easter time. If you're having any people over, or we're going to my cousin's holding an Easter egg hunt where they live, so we'll be going there, and I'll be picking my little granddaughter up, 5-year-old granddaughter up, and taking her. And a lot of these celebrations, obviously Easter is a religious festival. But where children are, whether they're religious or not, a lot of these festivals, and that they're made to be fun for the children. And although I wouldn't recommend children make these because of the safety with the sharp needle, maybe older children could, it's still nice to make them and hang them around, or give them as little Easter gifts to somebody. Not everybody likes chocolate, although I don't know who those people are. Or can't have chocolate for whatever reason. I'll give them something else as a little gift. So there we are, and I think that looks really nice. So what I'm going to do, because you've just seen me do, and obviously I've not spent a lot of time with those, I'm just going to go over this with this one, and that will just help keeping those matted down together. I'm going to show you another trick in a minute, and again, I don't know if it's something you're supposed to do, but it's what I've decided to do, but we'll get to that in a minute. So there. So the next thing I'm going to do is, if you can see with these, I've got this string so you can hang them up. So I've got a little length of string. I'm going to just hold the two ends together. I'm going to turn this over, put the string where I want it to be, which is about sort of just into the top of the decoration, kind of like get it so you've got the center of it, otherwise you're going to have a wonky egg. And I'm just going to stab those fibers in just to start it off, and then I'm going to add a little piece of this that I've used as the kind of the base. Just pull a bit apart. I'm just going to pop that on top. You could use glue if you wanted to. A lot of people, when they're adding things like, say, for this one, like the eyes, they have little bits of glue on the end. When you make holes, you put a little bit of glue on the end of the eyes and push them in, and that helps keep them together. Hope you can see all this right. It's a bit hard when I've got the camera facing down and I can't see where the camera's pointing. So just stabbing that in If you turn over the other side, it just pushes this forward a little bit. Whoops. But just stab that back down. That's fine. You can see, actually, you can see just a little bit there of the string coming through. So what I'm going to do is just going to pour a tiny bit of the salmon pink that I used for that. Again, pulling it apart and just pushing it back together, getting wool everywhere here. Just putting that on the top and just stabbing that down. Right, I'm just going to switch this on a minute and I'll tell you why in a second. Just put that on. Right, let's back again. And that just holds that in place. Obviously, the more you stab it, the more matted together it will get, and the kind of the more structure, it's more structural, it will hold together more. And what I'll probably do after the demonstration with the ones, I'll finish off the one that I was showing you from the beginning, and I'll just give this one a few more stabs over. So you've got your string in there, and that just hold it nicely. That won't come out unless you give it a really good pull. That won't come out. Okay, so that's it. The other thing is round the edges. What I've done as well, and I will put a finger guard on for this. Just pop that on. Is what you can do as well is with the edges, just do a few little stabs in. That helps neaten up the edges all the way around. I did do a little bit of that earlier when I was getting this demo piece ready. And it's just about the structure as well. And if for any reason it's come out of the oval or whatever, you can just stab it back in. So the final thing I'm going to do is, with my iron, I'm just going to hold the iron over the top of this just for a couple of seconds with the steam on, and that will just help fuse all of that in place. Now again, I don't know if you're supposed to do that with needle felting, but I know that heat with wool, anything with wool, heat will just solidify it and fuse it together. And I know sometimes when people are making felted clothes or felted pictures, sometimes they use heat and things. So that's what I've been doing. Whatever you do, do not iron it properly or hold the iron on, because it's going to end up sticking and all sorts. But the last thing we're going to do, you could have done the ironing last actually, it doesn't really matter, is I want to make, I've just put a piece of felt on the back of them. It just neatens it up a bit. So if you look at the back of that, you can see it's just a little bit where the different colours are coming through and all of that. You can see it. Obviously, if it was a bit thicker, you wouldn't see that, but these are just kind of decorations. So what I've done is I've just put some glued some felt onto the back. So I've got some felt here I'm going to use, kind of a pale pink. I'll bring you down again. and I'm just putting my template onto felt. I'm just going to draw it all the way round. Take that off. I don't think I could have found a smaller pair of scissors if I tried. And I'm just going to cut round the oval shape. Probably use bigger scissors than this. There we go. I've got some of this, it's just ordinary PVA glue. You can get fabric glues, also, it doesn't matter, it's just a domestic crafting glue. I'll just smooth that round a bit. And get my egg and just glue that down. There we go. So once that's glued down, kind of neatens up the back a little bit. And then if you need to, if you've got any edges or anything like that, just trim them off. Any kind of wispy bits of the felting, you can just kind of trim them off. There we go. And there we have it. Now I've got 3. I'll have 4 when I finish off the other one. So there we go. What do you think? Nice, easy, quick decoration. It probably takes, I don't know, an hour or something like that. Obviously with video, I've kind of moved it along a little bit. But yeah, quick and easy, lots of fun. You can give them as gifts. Some people give Easter cards. You could just give somebody a little Easter egg decoration instead. Okay. So if you like what you see, as always, think about subscribing. If you subscribe, you can press the alert button, and that just tells you when I've got another video posted, or I do some shorts as well. There's a few shorts on there. I'm in doing a series at the moment, the Dreamy Owl quilt, if you like quilting, and I've got, I don't know if there'll be 1 or 2 more left to that series yet, but one of those will be posted soon, because I'm at the final stages of that. And yeah, give me a thumbs up if you like it. That's very encouraging. Give me a comment if you've got any tips. As I said, I'm not a needle felter, but if you've got any tips, or if you want to, if you've got a project you want to show me, that's absolutely great. What I'm hoping is to build up a little community, and people can share ideas and ask questions if you get stuck with anything, or you know, whatever. It's just nice, isn't it? Okay. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.